and we go live momentarily. But in the meantime, please let us tell you a little more about our company. Quite simply, Make It Better creates engaging lifestyle content that helps you make your life and the lives of others better. Absolutely everything we do connects you to carefully vetted resources and facilitates positive, powerful social impact. Make It Better includes Better, Marin, and Spaces magazines and the Make It Better Foundation. You can learn more about each of them here.
Make It Better Media Group creates curated content, providing a resource to live, love, work, and play with greater purpose. As a multi-platform publishing company, our three brands, Better, Spaces, and Marin Magazine, all serve similar demographics across the nation while focusing on health, education, home, finance, and travel throughout all of our monthly content. We are determined to strengthen and connect every community across the country and will never stop looking for new ways to make a difference and create a better future. Together, each of us and the rest of the world actually becomes better. In January, we celebrate a new year, new you. February, health and wellness. March, family. April, sustainable living. May, powerful women. June, getting outdoors. July, aging well. August, best of. September, education. October, wine country. November, food and philanthropy. December, giving.
The Make It Better Foundation identifies and amplifies outstanding nonprofits in Chicago, the Bay Area, and beyond. We do this in a couple of ways. Our annual competition, the Philanthropy Awards, recognizes the most effective nonprofits making a difference. And our cash grants support rewards nonprofits who foster online fundraising collaboration to grow their network of support and amplify strong storytelling to bring their mission to life. Whether you are a philanthropist, a nonprofit director, CSR executive, thought leader, board member, volunteer, please visit our website to learn how we can help your favorite nonprofit.
A video of today's event will be posted in Make It Better TV, on our YouTube channel, and included in an article summarizing the top line advice. Please also watch for it in our social networks and the Better Letter email newsletters. You can subscribe for them here. In the meantime, we hope you enjoy this event and that you join the conversation through the chat button, which will appear when we go live momentarily.
Good afternoon and welcome. I'm Sharon Crone, Executive Director of the Make It Better Foundation, and I will be moderating a reveal of sorts of a landmark, first of its kind Alzheimer's prevention study in the works. I am pleased and proud of the long-standing partnership Make It Better Media Group has with Alzheimer's Association, and in that spirit, they wanted to share with our audience and many more watching a recording of this program afterwards, the latest progress in a research funded by Alzheimer's Association happening locally. With me today are panelists Olivia Matango, Vice President of Programs for the Alzheimer's Association Illinois Chapter, and Dr. Christy Tangney, Professor of Clinical Nutrition and Preventative Medicine at Rush University Medical Center, and Site Principal Investigator for the Alzheimer's Association's U.S. Pointer Study. Welcome, Christy and Olivia. Christy, why don't you start by helping us understand the problem that the study is wanting to address and what you are learning so far?
Absolutely. Keith, do you mind? Oh, great, Keith. I have this slide from our team, that is the U.S. Pointer team, to just give you a little background on why this became a very important trial and a very important issue. As you know, more and more people are being diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and it really is the sixth leading cause of death in the United States. And yet, with all the trials that we've done and all the drug management, none of them have been successful. And so for that reason, I believe the Alzheimer's Association was very committed to this idea that perhaps we should look at a different way. Perhaps we should look at some of the compelling work that was already out there in observational studies and some other trials that were done elsewhere, not in the United States, which led us to the possibility perhaps a change in lifestyle might be very protective for brain health. So actually, the US pointer, as you see at the bottom of this slide here, stands for, as you know, all trials have their acronyms, but it's for US Study to Protect Brain Health through Lifestyle Intervention to Reduce Risk. So that's how that pointer acronym came about. And I think what's very important, and one of the big facts that the Alzheimer's Association made many of us aware of, is that really only 16% of seniors ever say that they get regular cognitive assessments. So all these things came together to bring a new mission, I think, for several primary investigators, particular Dr. Baker, Dr. Laura Baker, and some of our key principal investigators from a Finnish trial, to collaborate with some of our top scientific experts at the Alzheimer's Association to craft a very interesting phase 3 trial. And so what that trial is really designed to do is to look at how lifestyle might correct the problem. When you look at the problem, let's look at the problem. We have a lot of folks today as we get older, and even youngsters, that probably have adopted a very sedentary lifestyle. So that's that first diagram on the top left. Obviously, we all know that our food culture has changed over the last 3 or 4 decades dramatically. Snacking has become a prevalent activity as opposed to exercise, and the kinds of foods and processed foods that many individuals are exposed to are a tremendous affront to our overall health. And then finally, as you can see, most of us are in careers or in occupations where we sit in front of a computer all day, myself included. And so making sure that those kinds of changes or those kinds of habits can be modified somehow was a very big initiative. And you'll notice the one other thing that's down in the bottom left-hand corner there is being aware of certain components of your health, particularly vascular health, which has impact on your brain health. That is being aware of your blood pressure, of your weight, those kinds of things. Yeah. So I think the history behind this was also that there was growing emphasis based on other clinical trials that aerobic exercise improves cognitive function, and that itself may protect brain health. Also that there was additional work done in Europe and here in the States that adherence, that is complying to a more Mediterranean type diet or a mind type diet, which was actually developed by my colleague, Dr. Martha Claire Morris and myself, and has been associated with reducing cognitive decline. So that led to the development of the US Pointer trial. And of course, I'm giving you a very short study about this. And I'm sure that my colleague Olivia will amplify further some of the background behind this. But I think the primary goal of this trial, this landmark trial, is to say, can 2 different lifestyle interventions that encourage physical activity, healthy diet, cognitive and social activities, and health monitoring, can that protect brain health? And these are 2 different levels, one requiring a lot of support and one being more self-directed, what we call self-guided. And this is the question that we're asking. And what's so beautiful about this study is that we are designing, or the study has been designed to meet people in their communities. So when this lifestyle is going to be adopted, it's going to be easy for those older individuals to adopt that, because we are identifying in your community an exercise facility that you can go to. So we are meeting with you and talking to you about the foods that you can eat. We are creating cognitive activities for you that make it easier for you to keep your brain healthy. All of those things are exceptionally important. And what I can tell you right now, the goal was to recruit 2,000 older adults, 60 to 79 years of age, who are at risk of cognitive issues, largely because of other health issues. That is, they have a family history, they have high blood pressure, they have a sedentary lifestyle, the problems I identified. If they have those kinds of things, they have a strong likelihood to be eligible for this trial. And they are enrolled in 5 different sites across the country. And this one of those sites is Chicagoland, for which I am very fortunate to be the site PI. And my partner in crime across the way is Olivia, as she's very supportive as our chapter VP. So I think that's one of the most important things that I have to tell you about. Perhaps I can also say that there was even more work that led up to this trial that we can talk about further. And I don't know, Olivia, if you want to talk about the finger trial a little bit, or Sharon, if you'd like to move the conversation to another step.
Well, you've mentioned the finger trial, and I think this is an important opportunity for Olivia to chime in. What is the background of this pointer study to begin with, and how does that relate to the fingers study? I'd love for you to break that down.
Absolutely. So at the Alzheimer's Association, we have an annual conference, and it was during a 24-14 annual conference that Dr. Mia Kivi-Pelto presented the results of the finger study, which is Finnish geriatric intervention study to prevent cognitive impairment and disability. So the finger study reported that a combination of physical activity, nutritional guidance, cognitive training, social activities, and the management of heart health risk factors protected cognition in healthy older adults who were at increased risk for cognitive decline. There are currently no pharmacological treatments that rival this effect. The findings provided the most compelling indication to date that we may be able to prevent Alzheimer's and other dementia by adopting healthy lifestyle habits. So that's really the background of the finger study and how the Alzheimer's Association adopted this U.S. pointer study.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so now you're leveraging that study to inform the pointer. Yes, Dr. Tangney?
Sure. I think what I wanted to add there is the finger lifestyle recommendations or interventions. What we wanted to know is how that would fit into the American culture. And, the American older population is very heterogeneous. Whether that would play out in the same way for everyone in the United States. And also, I think the other beautiful thing about this trial that I think Olivia would agree that in order to recruit individuals into this study, we are tapping a lot of the networks that the Alzheimer's Association has already created in the community. We are really tapping on the community-based infrastructure so that if this trial is truly successful, and as successful as the finger trial was, that we really have a way to sustain that approach and make it accessible for everyone in the community. So to me, I think that's one of the most important things. When we learn a lot in science, it's no good if it can't be translated and communicated and made accessible to our community individuals, the ones who actually gave all of their time. Because let me tell you, the participants in the U.S. Pointer trial, many of them have given a lot of time, a lot of travel time, a lot of surveys, a lot of effort in their intervention. And what we want to see is that there really was an impact. I mean, we don't know that for sure. We will not know that. Our recruitment is due to conclude probably by the spring of 2023. Right now, we're over 1,650 individuals. We may be even close to 1,700 right now. And I told you our goal is 2,000. So just to bring about the fact that my feeling is an incredible effort on the part of the Alzheimer's Association to continue to fund this, and really kind of, in my mind, rather revolutionary in a way, because they were the ones who were willing to take on lifestyle. Does it work? You know, many other institutes would not do that. So, and I'm very proud of our relationship with the Alzheimer's Association because of that.
It's terrific. You know, Olivia, I'm just curious to understand a little bit more how this study, the Pointer study, is being leveraged to have even greater impact on our knowledge of Alzheimer's and other dementia. Can you help us understand that a little bit more?
Absolutely, I'm happy to. So they are ancillary studies that are currently taking place that are looking deeper into the science of the main study. Only those that are enrolled in US Pointer are eligible to be included in the ancillary studies. So for instance, we have a neuroimaging ancillary study, which is really the first large-scale investigation of how lifestyle interventions, including exercise, diet, and cognitive stimulation and health coaching, affect biological markers of Alzheimer's and dementia. We also have a sleep ancillary study that examines changes in sleep and predict changes in overall cognition function and other specific areas such as memory. We also have a Alzheimer's gut project that's taking place that is examining the effects of dietary interventions, really a goal to just understand how variations in the gut relate to cognitive decline and other Alzheimer's relevant outcomes. And then the final study that we have out there is the Pointer Neurovascular study, which provides important information about how changes in blood flow and blood vessel health with a lifestyle intervention affect the brain. So, those are the studies that we are currently that have been launched and that we're currently working on that are really helping to kind of leverage, the information that we're trying to gain from US Pointer. So those are ongoing. We have lots of information about them. In fact, you can go to our website, alz.org, and you can look up each of those 4 studies and read a little bit more about them. And again, how they're just leveraging the impact on our knowledge on Alzheimer's and other dementia.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We're all very busy in our lives. And I imagine for the average Chicagoan or listener today, we might not be able to understand or break down all of the scientific understanding. If there are practical things, how could we understand diet and exercise as it relates more specifically? I appreciated your mind diet, the Mediterranean diet, mind type diet. We'd love to hear a little bit more about that. Are there some thresholds that we should be encouraging our listeners to be thinking about as you think about exercise related to this study and the importance of it? Give us some practical understanding of what changes we might make in our lifestyle.
Are you directing that to me, Sharon?
Yes, let's start with you because you use that word mind type diet and I want to hear more.
Okay. Mind is an actual pattern that is actually like a hybrid. We say it's a mix of what we call the DASH diet. I think a lot of people know about the DASH diet. There was A lot of work done by Frank Sachs and Larry Apple 20 years ago, where they looked at individuals who had high blood pressure and they recommended a diet that was very high in fruits and vegetables. Okay, fruits and vegetables, plant-based, and low-fat dairy, and to minimize a lot of the fried foods, etc., those kinds of things. And the Mediterranean. And what do we know about the Mediterranean diet? Well, the Mediterranean diet has gone through lots of transformations over the years because I have to say American food culture has infiltrated the entire world. But Mediterranean is largely those food cultures that are around the Mediterranean Sea. And for many of us who have ever visited, Greece or Crete or Italy or Portugal, the primary fat that's used in their food culture is extra virgin olive oil. So that's a critical component, an absolute critical component. And so that, as well as a few different food components that were largely identified based on the best science at the time that we could see. And so there was a lot of work that was done by groups all over the world that identified berries, wine, those various components that are part of a pseudo Mediterranean diet. So the combination of those created this 15-point pattern. But what an individual could do with regard to a mind type, Mediterranean type diet, I think the simple things are reduce the amount of fast food and fried foods we consume, replace it more with foods that are sauteed or prepared, roasted in extra virgin olive oil. Very simple thing. What I try to tell most people is trying vegetables roasted in olive oil is one of the best things you could possibly do. And just changing that kind of approach, I think, has a tremendous impact. So those are some of the things. We incorporate a lot more berries, as I said, in daily foods. We also ask people to consume more whole grains, but that's been a common theme for DASH, for the dietary guidelines. We have so many refined products in the food supply that it becomes really important. And continually at the annual meeting for Alzheimer's Association, we continue to see more and more reports suggesting that unprocessed foods are more protective and more highly ultra-processed foods appear to be associated with faster cognitive decline. So for those kinds of reasons, any kind of dietary pattern that minimizes the amount of highly saturated food products, including meats, processed meats, butter, margarine, and emphasizes plant foods that are prepared healthfully, are a potential win-win. And I always try to tell, at least clients of mine, think about food simply. Nothing needs to be super complicated. It can be prepared simply. So I think that's one of the most strong messages. And ever since the Mind came out, it was a plan that was tested in a cohort study here in Chicago that was led by David Bennett at the Rush University Medical Center. And that stands for MAP, the Memory and Aging Project. And we tested it and we saw a reduction not only in the rate of cognitive decline in those individuals that were more adherent to the Mind diet, but we also saw that there was a reduced incidence of Alzheimer's. Now, again, only association. So for every reason in science, once you see an association, you want to test it in a clinical trial. And one of those trials that's incorporating this is the US Pointer trial, which is a remarkable trial because the signal from diet alone may not be enough, but also the amount of exercise prescription that's defined has largely been defined by Dr. Baker's work, where she has actually shown in the past that this prescription is protective. And it's very similar to the prescription that was in the finger trial. So there is, and one of the great things about the U.S. pointer trial that I think is also important is the United States isn't the only trial doing this. We have trials going on, not me, but the Alzheimer's has coordinated those trials all across the world. And we have what we call worldwide finger right now ongoing that has been highly supported by the Alzheimer's Association. I'm sure Olivia can tell us even more about that. And what we're doing in pointer, our Latin American colleagues are replicating to some degree in their older adults. We have the Canadian thumb. We have Australia doing something similar. Japan's doing something similar. And our goal is to be able to harmonize this data so that we can look at how effective it is in diverse cultures. And I guess one last point I think that's really unusual about U.S. Pointer is they make a very concerted effort that we include communities of color. And the recommendation is that we have more than 23% non-white older adults, and that we get lauded on that. When we meet, we are, we get stars, let's say that, if we can do that, if we can engage those clients in those communities to take care of their health in that way, because we know in many non-white communities, Alzheimer's is even at higher rates. And so we want to offer that possibility for them as well. And right now, I think Chicagoland, or at least Rush, is sitting at 31% people of color in our current enrolled seniors in Pointer. I believe our Houston site is even higher. I think they're up at nearly 40%. So, yes. I'll end there. Olivia, you can add more.
Yes, please do, Olivia. What else can you fill in? Help us understand more.
I think I'll just add that, there is an urgent need to expand this work and to test the general liability, sorry, I cannot say that word, adaptability and sustainability of the finger study geographically. And, the model is now being replicated in the United States, in Europe, in South America, Asia, Australia, including populations from a variety of geographical and cultural backgrounds. This worldwide effort, really, fingers, please, if you are able to look it up online, Worldwide Fingers, there's so much information on it. It supports a collaborative network of trials to facilitate the harmonization of research methods and sharing of experiences and data for maximum global impact. So, I think we kind of mentioned that it's being led by Dr. Kevin Pilto, and then, of course, our own Maria Carrillo here at the Alzheimer's Association. She's the Chief Science Officer. She's also involved in this work. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting when I hear you talk about, Christy, I'm going back to our backstage conversation for a moment. It was probably 6 or 7 years ago, I was attending a fundraiser event put on by Ounce of Prevention. And it was the very first time I was able to hear from Dr. Nadine Burke-Harris about the ACEs study, Adverse Childhood Experiences. And what struck me for the very first time is a relationship tied between an adverse experience, so environment, and a brain rewiring event. And when she said that a certain number of these adverse childhood experiences could shorten one's lifespan, and one of the leading causes in that connection was Alzheimer's. And I thought to myself, how in the world does an environment dynamic bring on onset of Alzheimer's? But what you're exposing us to today is the connection of our diet and our exercise and our lifestyle choices as they inform our vulnerability to Alzheimer's and cognitive decline. So this is a piece that maybe others are still just now putting together. We don't often think about our biology changing as a result of some of permanently as a result of our environment, but it's not. You're also giving us the positive input that changes in our lifestyle can help reduce that exposure.
And Sharon, I think you described it beautifully. I mean, really, when you think about it, our environment is what's available for us food-wise, what's available for us to exercise. So those individuals who potentially don't have a healthy environment, that is part of policy. That's the part that we have to help change. And what we can do, what we have control over, that is what we choose to pull and eat and what we choose to do most simply, may have an impact on our brain health now and in the future. And I think understanding that and having more and more studies from different cultures so that we can appreciate that. I mean, I think what Olivia said is we're at the beginning stage here, that yes, things like adverse experiences can other environmental situations correct for that? Can diet, can exercise, can those kinds of things contribute? It doesn't always have to be a drug. It can be things that are reachable for us. And I think that's the really important thing. I think policy-wise, I think the other part of that is I personally, as a nutritionist, have been trained in nutritionist. I would love to change the fast food industry. I want to change them to offer healthier options. And I want that to be the most popular, not French fries and a hamburger. I want those things to be healthier and those things to be priced more reasonably so everyone can afford them. So, but the science has to continue. And I think communication is important, because even when the science is there, if the communication doesn't follow up and it doesn't reach the right people, it's extremely important. And as Dr. Baker gave a talk yesterday about some of her work where she was looking at individuals with mild cognitive impairment, and they were randomized to 2 different levels of activity, one where it was stretching, balance, range of motion, and the other one is where they were exercising at a much higher level of heart rate. Both groups, who were originally sedentary, over the 12-month period demonstrated good outcomes. They did not have cognitive decline. So even in people who have challenges, we can help them. But the one thing that she said, which was critically important, is she had trainers helping people with MCI. So it's important. We all need a little coaching in life, I think. We need coaching to make better food choices. We need coaching to keep us on the path to exercise. Most of us, if you don't have a friend to exercise with, sometimes it's harder to do it, right? So I really believe that. I think you have to create the environment, and I think health professionals should aid in creating the environment. I think that should be our mission, you know. Our word is health. So we need to create a healthier environment, right?
And then getting the word out. We were grateful when Alzheimer's Association wanted to leverage our platform to do just that. Exactly. Obviously, Alzheimer's Association is at the helm of so many important movements, right? They're doing important fundraising. They're doing important education. They're doing getting the word out that's changing the dynamic of other studies going on. It's such a collaborative dynamic that happens. You mentioned policy just for a moment there in terms of food. I'm not really familiar where Alzheimer's Association begins and ends, but I know your sweet spot is definitely raising awareness and supporting families who are in this space. Give us a little bit more understanding of the funding for this study specifically, how that's been generated. You can speak to the policy piece if you want to, Olivia, but we'd love to hear more from you on that side, because this is your sweet spot.
It is, and honestly, it's very. There isn't too much to share regarding the funding. We are committed to funding the parent trial of US Pointer, and as it stands, expenses are approximately $35 million. Earlier on in our conversation, I mentioned the add-on studies, the ancillary studies that are also taking place that are linked to US Pointer. Those studies are receiving funding as well, but from other sources, such as the National Institute of Health. But we are funding the parent trial of the study. So it's very exciting to be a part of this and to kind of see this work unfold. And I've often shared with my colleagues that we'll be able to look back in time and say we were part of something really special and really important. And it's through the Alzheimer's Association that this is happening. So I feel really humbled that I'm in this position to be able to have this experience. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I want to pick up on two things you said, Olivia, that I thought were really important. One, how unusual, or it may be not, but to my knowledge, it's very unusual. We have partnership in a way between Alzheimer's and NIA, that is the National Institute of Aging, because without both, we can't answer all the questions we hope to. But the other piece that I think is fascinating about how this trial works is the partnership the Alzheimer's Association provides for us locally with the intervention, because you identify very skilled navigators that lead each of our teams in the various communities. We appoint usually dietitians or kinesiologists that provide the background on that, but the Alzheimer's provides the skill set for the navigators who know a lot about community needs, know a lot about motivational interviewing. And it's the combination of those two individuals together, the interventionist and the navigator, that makes our teams work, that makes the intervention work. And at least in Chicagoland, we just went through a fidelity visit. That is where they check and see, is the intervention being rolled out the way it was intended? And we do a great job, and hopefully we'll continue to do a great job. We keep trying to refine it and get better. But what it says is that partnerships between different organizations can work, and they can create a stronger outcome, I think. So here we as a medical center, as an academic, I have been in nutrition. I train dietitians. I can point on one or two graduates of our program who could serve as a dietitian in this program. But the Alzheimer's provides these very excellent counselors and navigators that work with the dietitian to create the best kind of communication with our participants in the intervention. So it's a wonderful partnership. I had nothing to do with the original design of that. I think that's remarkable. I don't know if I can remember. I don't think Finger was designed in the same exact way with that partnership between navigator and interventionist. I think they only had interventionists, but I might be speaking out of turn there. So
I'm not sure about that. Yeah, I'm not sure. But I agree with you, Dr. Tingley. It's been such a wonderful experience working alongside Rush on this study. And, just to add, and I'm so sorry, I feel like I cut you off, but, at the Alzheimer's Association, what we do is, community outreach, educating, reaching the masses. There's always somebody that needs to know. There's always somebody that needs our information, our resource. And so, we've been trained to always have that outlook. And I think it does very nicely complement your end of the house
right.
as we're meeting with these groups and making sure that they're doing everything that they need to be doing for this study. It's a very nice marriage.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
See, we're congratulating each other, Sharon.
I think it's the Mutual Appreciation Society right here, live for our audience. You've got, what did I understand? Another 400 or so participants in your trial. You were saying 1,600, you're trying to get to 2,000. You're
Right.
above the threshold of a very diverse population in your trial group. Are there ways that your team is looking to increase that percentage in diversity? Are there partnerships? How are you going to find these next 400 people?
Well,
Olivia, are you laughing at my
yeah,
question?
It's a
What
good
I
question.
guess what I guess I could say about that is that we have specific communities all over Chicagoland that we have selected where we feel, one, that participants have some association potentially with either Rush or Advocate, our partners. We are trying to pick communities that are diverse so that when we go to the library, when we go to the community center, for example, we're just about finished in one community, not finished, but it finished recruitment, that is. And that community is in West Pullman. And West Pullman is not really very close to either Oak Park, where the Rush site is, or Park Ridge, where the Advocate site is. So at first, we were extremely concerned that folks wouldn't want to travel to the clinic because they come every 6 months for some measurements. But because we've had, and some of my colleagues and myself have spent a lot of time developing relationships with groups that are in that area, and particularly the Kroc Center, which is a funded one from Ray Kroc, was a community center, a magnificent, beautiful center up in on West in the West Pullman area. And then I guess I did it alone this time. I did a radio interview with folks at WBON. And then we actually gone to local libraries and gone to other sites. I think we just raised that awareness about the fact that Pointer was coming to this community. And I'd have to say that the community outreach from Kroc Center, both their two coordinators, were extremely willing to host us. And we came and gave a talk. And a lot of people signed up right then and there. It was just a wonderful thing. But it means, I think the thing about Pointer is we don't expect people to come to us except for the measurements. We go to them. So we are going to their community. We're visiting them. And that's where the teams are, where they meet much more regularly, where they're meeting potentially weekly in the very beginning, and then it gets spread out as time goes over. But think about the other beautiful thing I think that comes out of this trial is people form new friends in their own community. They may not know the people that have been enrolled because of certain eligibility characteristics, but then they meet on a fairly regular basis, whether it be in the library or at the Kroc Center or wherever, or at the exercise facility. And the thing about the Kroc Center that's really remarkable is it has pools, it has exercise, it also has a chapel. I mean, it is truly a community center. And I think if COVID has taught us a lot, one of the things is it's nice to be in your community. You don't always have to commute to X, Y, and Z. You can find it in your own community or help contribute and make your community stronger, So I think that's good. So those efforts were in place. We do most of our work by sending we start with an electronic medical record. We send out letters to eligible people in communities in certain zip codes. We start that way, but then it's followed up with what we call grassroots, which is the things that I was telling you about. And that's the kind of stuff that Olivia and her team helps us with when we go to these various sites. If she has contacts, she tells us about, let's go here, let's go here. So, because some of us, I knew nothing about West Pullman until I had these contacts, and that makes me more familiar about bigger Chicagoland too. And my team enjoying it. Yeah.
Our community is baked into the DNA. I'm learning more and more about Alzheimer's commitment at the community level. Our media company right there at the community level connecting. We love the activity at Rush and all the places that you're involved. And that's a redeeming quality actually of the Ray Kroc Center, is it not?
Right.
You've already talked about the element of fast food and how that's less favorable for this diet, but swimming pools and exercise facilities are absolutely in line with what you're trying to accomplish.
Right.
Olivia, what have we missed? What do you want to share?
About Pointer, I think Dr. Tangney touched on it. We're still in the recruitment phase, and we really, really are looking for diversity. So anyone that does belong to those groups, please go on to the Pointer site and sign up. We would love for you to participate. It will really help us at the end. So I think it will, in the end, what comes out of the study is helpful to everyone. So, the more diversity that we have, the more helpful it is to us overall. We're taking care of each other, really, is what it works out to be. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let me take a moment and share 2 important ways that our audience can support the ongoing work of Alzheimer's Association. First, and for a limited time, every donation up to a total of $10,000 raised in the Chicago, Lake County, and North Shore Walk to End Alzheimer's events between September 26 and 30 will be matched by Make It Better Media Group. That's dollar for dollar. So make your donation go twice as far. And we have a QR code link here that you can scan now or go to that website. So that's one way. 2, Better is also pleased, as we talked about community and partnerships, we're pleased to partner with Chicago Shakespeare Theater to offer audience a second way to give back to the Alzheimer's Association. Surely by now you have heard all the buzz about the world premiere of The Notebook. It's a new musical at Chicago Shakespeare Theater. It's based on the best-selling novel and inspired by the iconic film featuring music and lyrics by a multi-platinum singer-songwriter and a book by playwright Becca Brunstetter. It's a story, though, of enduring power of love and memory. And so Alzheimer's is a theme in this story. And we are thrilled by this synergy. So now through October 16, use the promo code LOVE to unlock discounted tickets to The Notebook. And 10% of those ticket proceeds will be donated back to the Alzheimer's Association. So we are grateful for that partnership. You can book online or call the box office using that information on our screen. Thank you, Chicago Shakespeare Theater, for your support. I would love, again, just Olivia, Christy, wonderful to be with you. Special thanks to the mighty research team at Rush University Medical Center and the generous support of our donors supporting Alzheimer's Association and the good work you're doing to make these breakthrough studies possible. As a reminder, a recording of this program will be available on better.net and will be circulated in a future edition of our twice weekly e-newsletter, The Better Letter. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Christy. Thank you, Olivia. Have a better day.
Thank you.